Some people say revenge is a dish best served cold, but I learned it tastes even better when served with precision and patience. My name is Thad, and for 10 years I thought I had built something solid. I'm an architect. I design buildings, create spaces where people live their lives, where families grow. The irony isn't lost on me now. I was so busy designing other people's homes that I didn't notice mine was crumbling from the inside. Melinda worked as a massage therapist at an upscale wellness center in Seattle. We had 2 kids, Emma 8 and Lucas 6. Our house in the Ravenna neighborhood wasn't fancy, but it was ours. Middle-class, comfortable, the kind of life where you're not worried about bills but not buying boats either. Everything changed on a Tuesday in March. I was working from home, finishing blueprints for a client's lake house, when Melinda's phone kept buzzing on the kitchen counter. She was in the shower. The screen lit up repeatedly with notifications. I wasn't the snooping type, never had been. Trust was our foundation, or so I believed. But the preview of the last message caught my eye. Last night was incredible. Can't stop thinking about. My hands moved before my brain could stop them. I picked up her phone. No passcode, she'd always said she had nothing to hide. The messages loaded and my world tilted sideways. Kevin. That was the name at the top of a conversation thread that went back months. The messages were explicit, detailed, and left nothing to imagination. Plans to meet. Descriptions of what they'd done. Promises of what they'd do next. This was the moment when I understood, there was no going back. I took screenshots. Dozens of them. My architect's mind kicked in, documentation, evidence, proof. I sent them to my email, deleted the sent messages from her phone, and put it back exactly where she'd left it. When Melinda came out of the shower, humming some pop song, I was back at my desk, staring at my computer screen without seeing anything. She kissed the top of my head like she did every morning. I tasted bile. Morning, babe. Want me to make pancakes for the kids? Sure, I heard myself say. I thought it couldn't get worse, but over the next week I did something I never imagined I'd do. I ordered an AirTag online, slipped it into the inner pocket of her gym bag, the one she took everywhere. She thought it was for yoga classes and client meetings. I knew better now. The tracking showed patterns. Tuesday and Thursday afternoons weren't spent at the wellness center. Instead, the blue dot on my phone led to an apartment complex in Capitol Hill. I drove there once, parked down the street, and watched her walk in. She emerged 3 hours later, fixing her hair, checking her phone with a smile I used to think was for me. I researched the address. Apartment 412 was leased to Kevin Marsh, 29 years old, worked as a tour guide at Pike Place Market. According to the messages, they'd met at a coffee shop 6 months ago when Melinda was grabbing lunch between clients. He'd struck up a conversation. She'd gone back the next day. My hands shook as I read through more messages on nights when she slept beside me, her phone charging on the nightstand. She'd started being careless, or maybe she just didn't think I'd ever look. Then I found something that made my blood freeze. A message from 2 months ago, I'll make the appointment for Friday. He'll never know. Her response, I'm scared but it's the right choice. It wouldn't be fair to anyone. Kevin, I'll be with you. We'll get through this. She'd been pregnant. Not with my child, we hadn't been intimate in months, something she'd blamed on work stress. She'd had an abortion, and I'd never known she was carrying another man's baby. And then, it got worse. I started paying attention to everything. The way she dressed when she said she was meeting her sister. The new lingerie in her drawer. The suddenly intensive skincare routine. But I said nothing. I played the devoted husband, the loving father, while I built my case like I'd build a structure. Foundation first, then walls, then roof. Everything in order. I consulted a lawyer quietly. Washington is a no-fault divorce state, but infidelity still matters in custody and asset division. My attorney, Patricia, was impressed with my documentation. Most people come to me with suspicions and emotions, she said. You've come with evidence and a plan. I'm an architect, I told her. I don't start building without blueprints. But I needed more. I needed everyone to know who Melinda really was. I discovered Kevin had a girlfriend, Madison, a nurse who worked night shifts. She had no idea she was sharing her boyfriend with a married woman. I found her through Kevin's Facebook profile, which was carelessly public. I also learned Kevin lived with his mother, who was recovering from surgery. The apartment was hers. She was religious, attended church every Sunday, volunteered at food banks. The kind of woman who'd be horrified to learn her son was involved with a married mother of 2. The pieces of my revenge started coming together. In May, Melinda told me she was going to a massage therapy conference in Portland for the weekend. The kids would stay with her parents. I said I had a project deadline and would work through the weekend. The AirTag told me she never left Seattle. She spent the entire weekend at Kevin's apartment. That was when I executed the first phase. I created a fake social media account and sent Madison a message. You don't know me, but I think you deserve to know the truth about Kevin. I attached screenshots, timestamps visible, of his messages with Melinda. Intimate photos they'd exchanged. Meeting times that coincided with Madison's work schedule. I also printed out a comprehensive packet. Messages, photos, dates, locations, and mailed it to Kevin's mother with a note. Mrs. Marsh, I thought you should know what your son is doing in your home while you're recovering. He's having an affair with a married woman who has 2 young children. As someone who volunteers to help families, I thought you'd want to know he's destroying one. A concerned neighbor. Then I waited. It took 3 days. Melinda came home Tuesday afternoon, pale and shaking. She went straight to our bedroom and I heard her on the phone, voice low and urgent. I couldn't hear the words but I heard the panic. That evening she picked at her dinner. The kids chattered about school, oblivious. You okay? I asked the concerned husband. Just tired, she said, not meeting my eyes. Kevin had gone silent, her messages showed. She'd sent him dozens. What's happening? Call me. Please, we need to talk. I later learned what had happened. Madison had confronted Kevin at his apartment, and his mother had been there. The explosion had been spectacular. Madison had thrown her engagement ring, I hadn't known they were engaged, in his face. His mother had ordered him out of her apartment. Kevin's sister, who I'd also sent information to, had called Melinda's wellness center and spoken to the owner about employee conduct. Melinda's world was collapsing, and she had no idea I was the one pulling out the support beams. What happened after that? You need to hear it. The wellness center put Melinda on administrative leave to review workplace ethics policies. Translation: several clients had complained after learning about the affair. Turned out some of them knew Kevin's mother through church. Small world, Seattle. Melinda still didn't tell me anything. She pretended everything was fine, that she was just taking some vacation time. She smiled at the dinner table. She helped the kids with homework. She slept beside me every night. I watched her like I was studying a building's structural integrity before demolition. The weeks between discovering the affair and executing my plan were the strangest of my life. I became 2 people, the Thad who went through the motions of daily life, and the Thad who was meticulously planning the complete dismantling of everything Melinda had built around her lies. I started documenting everything with obsessive precision. Every time she said she was working late, I checked the AirTag. Every time she claimed to be at her sister's house, I'd verify with a casual text to her sister asking about something unrelated. The lies stacked up like floors on a building, each one supporting the next, creating a tower of deception that I was preparing to demolish. One particular evening stands out. We were having dinner with our neighbors, the Castellanos. Maria and David had been our friends for 7 years, since they'd moved in next door. Their kids played with ours. We'd had countless barbecues together, celebrated birthdays, watched each other's houses during vacations. Maria was telling a story about catching her teenage daughter sneaking out to meet a boy. Everyone laughed. Melinda laughed hardest of all, reaching over to squeeze my hand like we were the picture of marital solidarity. Trust is so important, Maria said, shaking her head. Once it's broken, especially with kids, it's so hard to rebuild. Absolutely, Melinda agreed, her thumb rubbing circles on my palm. Honesty is the foundation of any relationship. I smiled and nodded, thinking about the messages on her phone from Kevin that very afternoon, talking about how much he missed her taste. The disconnect between her words and her actions was staggering. How did she do it? How did she sit there, holding my hand, preaching about honesty while living a complete double life? That night, after we got home and put the kids to bed, she initiated intimacy for the first time in months. I couldn't do it. I made an excuse about being tired, about a headache. She seemed relieved actually and rolled over to sleep. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering if she'd been with Kevin that day. Wondering if she was thinking about him while lying next to me. Wondering how many times she'd done exactly that. The psychological toll was immense. I started seeing a therapist, Dr. Rahman, who specialized in infidelity trauma. I didn't tell Melinda, of course. I scheduled sessions during my lunch breaks, claiming I was meeting with clients. You're experiencing a form of betrayal trauma, Dr. Rahman explained during our 3rd session. Your reality has been shattered. Everything you thought was true about your marriage, your wife, your life, it's all been revealed as a facade. I feel crazy, I admitted. Like I'm living in 2 different worlds simultaneously. That's normal. You're holding contradictory truths. The woman you love and the woman who betrayed you are the same person. Your mind is struggling to reconcile that. I don't love her anymore, I said. Dr. Rahman tilted his head. Don't you? I did. That was the worst part. Some part of me still loved the woman I'd married, the mother of my children, the person I'd built a life with. But that person might never have existed. Maybe I'd loved an illusion all along. The therapy helped me understand something crucial. My revenge wasn't really about punishing Melinda. It was about reclaiming control. She'd taken my agency, my ability to make informed choices about my own life. By exposing her, by controlling the narrative, I was taking that power back. I also started preparing the kids subtly. Not telling them anything but preparing them emotionally for change. I spent more time with them, took them on special outings, just the three of us. The zoo, the science center, hiking in Discovery Park. Where's Mom? Emma asked during one of these trips. She's working, sweetie. But we're having our own adventure today, right? I like our adventures, Lucas said, holding my hand as we walked. I squeezed his little hand, fighting back tears. They had no idea their world was about to change. I was trying to build enough positive memories, enough security in our relationship, to cushion the blow when it came. Before I continue, please pause the video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new interesting stories. Thank you. I also gathered intelligence on Kevin beyond what the messages revealed. I learned he'd been engaged before to a woman named Sarah, but she'd broken it off after discovering he'd cheated on her with a co-worker. Pattern behavior. I found Sarah on LinkedIn and sent her a carefully worded message asking if she'd be willing to speak with me about Kevin Marsh. She called me within an hour. That man is a snake, she said bluntly. Charming as hell but absolutely incapable of being faithful. What did he do? He's having an affair with my wife. I'm sorry. I really am. He's good at making women feel special, like they're the only one who really understands him. It's all manipulation. Did you ever get revenge? I asked. She laughed bitterly. I wanted to. God, I wanted to. But I just walked away. Cut my losses. Maybe that makes me the bigger person, but sometimes I wish I'd made him face consequences. I'm making him face consequences, I told her. Good, she said. Someone should. She sent me documentation of Kevin's previous cheating. Messages, photos, even a statement she'd written at the time detailing his infidelity. More ammunition for my arsenal. I researched Melinda's workplace policies. The wellness center had a strict code of conduct including a morality clause. Employees were expected to maintain professional standards both in and out of the workplace that reflect the center's values of wellness, integrity, and community trust. An affair with a client's acquaintance, conducted during work hours, definitely violated that. I identified which of her clients knew Kevin's mother through church. There were 3. I prepared individual packets for each of them, with a personal note explaining how Melinda had been using the wellness center as a cover for her affair, potentially during time when she should have been preparing for their appointments. I thought it couldn't get worse, but I discovered another layer. Going through our credit card statements. Something I'd never done before. We'd always trusted each other with finances. I found charges at restaurants I'd never been to, at a hotel near the airport, at lingerie stores. She'd been using our money to fund her affair. Our money. Not savings, thankfully. I'd kept most of our serious money in accounts she didn't have access to, a lucky break that was about to become crucial, but still. She'd been spending the money I earned designing buildings to buy underwear for another man. The hotel charge was dated to a Thursday afternoon 3 months ago. I'd been at a client meeting. The kids had been at school. She told me she was doing inventory at the wellness center. Instead, she'd spent 3 hours in a hotel room with Kevin, and charged it to our joint credit card. I made copies of every statement, highlighted every suspicious charge. More evidence for the divorce proceedings. My parents were my only confidants during this time. My mother cried when I told her. My father went silent, his face hardening in a way I'd only seen a few times in my life. What do you need from us? He finally asked. Take care of the kids when the time comes. They're going to need stability, love, normalcy. They're going to be confused and hurt, and they can't know the details. Not yet, not until they're older. Of course, my mother said. Whatever you need. But Thad, are you sure about this? About exposing her so publicly? It's going to affect the children too. The children are going to be affected no matter what. Either they grow up thinking this is acceptable behavior, or they learn that actions have consequences. I'm choosing the latter. My father nodded slowly. Your mother has a point, but I understand. Trust is everything. She broke it. She doesn't get to control how the pieces fall. I also consulted with a family counselor about how to eventually tell Emma and Lucas. Not the details but the appropriate information for their ages. They'll need to know it's not their fault, the counselor explained. Children often blame themselves for divorce. And they'll need consistency, routine, lots of reassurance that both parents still love them. Will they hate me? I asked. For breaking up the family? You didn't break up the family. Their mother did. But they won't understand that for years, maybe not until they're adults themselves. For now, they'll just know their world is changing. Your job is to make sure they feel safe in that change. Another session with Dr. Rahman was pivotal. You're planning something, he observed. I can see it. This isn't just about processing trauma anymore. You're strategizing. Is that wrong? I'm not here to judge right or wrong. I'm here to help you understand your own motivations. So tell me, what do you hope to achieve? Justice, I said immediately. Justice or revenge? Is there a difference? Sometimes. Justice is about fairness, about appropriate consequences. Revenge is about making someone hurt the way they hurt you. Which one are you pursuing? I thought about it carefully. Both maybe. She hurt me, destroyed our family, lied for months. She should face consequences. But those consequences should also be proportional to what she did. She didn't just betray me, she betrayed our kids, our families, our friends, everyone who trusted her. They all deserve to know the truth. And the satisfaction you'll feel when her life falls apart, that's revenge. Yes, I admitted. That's revenge. And I'm okay with that. Dr. Rahman nodded. As long as you're honest with yourself about it. The danger isn't in the revenge itself, it's in pretending it's something nobler than it is. Own what you're doing. I owned it. Completely. The final piece fell into place when I discovered Melinda had been planning to leave me. Not immediately but eventually. I found a document on our shared computer, she'd clearly forgotten it was accessible to both of us, titled Exit Strategy. It outlined her plans to establish financial independence, to gradually shift more custody time to build a case for primary custody, to position herself as the victim of a cold, workaholic husband who neglected his family. She was going to divorce me and make it look like my fault. Reading that document, I felt the last shred of guilt about my plans evaporate. She wasn't just having an affair. She was strategically planning to destroy me, take my kids, and rewrite our entire history to make herself the hero. Not anymore. And then, it got worse. I found emails between Melinda and a friend of hers discussing me, mocking me, laughing about how I had no idea what was happening right under my nose. Her friend had encouraged the affair, even covered for her a few times. He's so boring, Melinda had written. All he talks about is his buildings and the kids. Kevin makes me feel alive again. Boring. I was boring. I worked 60 hours a week to provide for our family, spent every free moment with our children, and I was boring. Kevin, who lived with his mother and gave tours to tourists for minimum wage, was exciting. The email was dated 2 weeks after our 9th anniversary, when I'd arranged for a weekend getaway to the San Juan Islands. We'd left the kids with her parents, stayed at a bed and breakfast, gone kayaking and wine tasting. I thought it was romantic. She'd apparently thought it was boring. I forwarded that email to myself too. More evidence. More motivation. In June I made my move. I packed the kids up for what I told them was a fun week at Grandma and Grandpa's house. My parents, who I'd quietly informed about everything. Then I stayed home from work and waited. When Melinda returned from what she thought was a client meeting, she found me sitting at the kitchen table with divorce papers, printed message transcripts, and her suitcases packed. That. Her face went white. What's? Sit down, Melinda. I don't understand. Sit down. She sat. I slid the papers across the table. I know about Kevin. I know about everything. The apartment in Capitol Hill. The abortion. All of it. I've designed buildings for over a decade. I understand structural failure. The way a person's entire framework can collapse. That's what I witnessed in her face. Denial crumbled into shock, shock into panic, panic into something like relief. How long have you known? Long enough. That, please let me explain. There's nothing to explain. I read the messages. I saw the pictures. I watched you lie to my face for months while you carried on with a tour guide who lives with his mother. She flinched. It wasn't supposed to happen. It just what? You accidentally spent 6 months sleeping with someone else? You accidentally got pregnant with his child? You accidentally chose to abort it without saying a word to me? Tears started down her face. I didn't mean to hurt you. You meant every choice you made. You chose him over me, over our kids, over everything we built. And you know what the funny part is? I'm not even the angriest person you'll deal with today. Her phone buzzed. She looked at it and went even paler. That would be your sister, I said. I sent her everything about an hour ago. And your parents. And yes, before you ask, all our friends received a detailed email this morning. I wanted everyone to know exactly who you are before you had a chance to spin this into some story about how I was a bad husband who drove you to it. You told everyone? Her voice was barely a whisper. Everyone. Your boss already knew, of course. I wasn't the only one who sent her information. Apparently, several of your clients did too after they found out. You won't be going back to that job. You destroyed my life. No, Melinda. You destroyed our life. I just made sure everyone else knew the truth. My response shocked even her friends, because I wasn't angry. I was cold, calculated, precise. Like drafting a building. Every line in its place. Every angle measured. No emotion, just execution. She tried to talk, to plead, to explain. I let her speak until she ran out of words. Then I slid the divorce papers closer. You'll sign these. We'll split custody of the kids. I'm not taking them from you, though God knows I could make a case. We'll divide assets 50-50. The house will be sold. You'll agree to all of this because if you fight me, I'll make sure every detail of your affair becomes public record in court. Your abortion. Kevin's girlfriend. His mother. All of it. That's blackmail. That's consequences. Sign the papers, Melinda. She signed. But I wasn't done. Over the next months, as our divorce processed through the courts, I made sure Melinda's fresh start was anything but. Every job application she submitted to other wellness centers somehow received anonymous emails about her professional conduct. I wasn't trying to ruin her career. I was making sure her reputation followed her. Kevin, meanwhile, had lost his job at Pike Place Market. His girlfriend's brother worked there and had made it clear Kevin wasn't welcome. His mother wouldn't speak to him. His sister had cut him off. Last I heard through mutual acquaintances, he'd moved to Spokane to stay with a cousin. You won't guess how this all ends. Melinda moved to a small apartment in West Seattle. She found work at a gym teaching yoga, lower pay, fewer clients, but it was something. We maintained civil communication for the kids' sake. Emma and Lucas stayed with me during the week, with her on weekends. They adjusted better than I expected, though Emma asked questions I struggled to answer honestly. Why don't you and Mom live together anymore? Sometimes people grow apart, honey. It doesn't mean we love you any less. Half-truths are still lies, but what else could I say? I ran into Kevin once, about 8 months after everything exploded. He was back in Seattle working at a bookstore in Fremont. He saw me and the fear in his eyes was immediate. I'm sorry, he said, the words tumbling out. I know it doesn't mean anything, but I'm sorry. You're right, I told him. It doesn't mean anything. I walked away. I didn't need his apology. I didn't need anything from him. Melinda tried to reconcile once. It was late one evening when she dropped the kids off. They ran inside to get ready for bed and she lingered at the door. Do you think? She started, then stopped. Do you think there's any chance we could ever? No. That I made a mistake. A horrible mistake. But we had 10 years together. That has to count for something. It does count for something. It counts as 10 years I'll never get back. 10 years I spent building a life with someone who threw it away. People make mistakes. Mistakes are accidental, Melinda. What you did was a choice. Hundreds of choices. Every message, every meeting, every lie. Those weren't mistakes. They were decisions. After this moment, her life was never the same. She couldn't rebuild the reputation she destroyed, couldn't undo the consequences that followed her everywhere. I heard through friends that she tried to start fresh in Tacoma, but someone always seemed to know someone who knew what had happened. I eventually started dating again. Nothing serious. I focused on my kids, my work, my life. I designed a community center that won an award. Emma joined soccer. Lucas started piano lessons. We were okay. The house sold in October. We split the proceeds exactly 50-50, just as the papers said. I bought a smaller place in Maple Leaf, closer to the kids' school. Melinda stayed in her apartment. And the ending that surprised even me? I forgave her. Not out loud. Not to her face. But alone, late at night, I let go of the anger that had fueled everything. Revenge had been satisfying in the moment, watching the dominoes fall, seeing consequences catch up with actions. But it hadn't healed anything. It hadn't made me whole. Forgiveness wasn't for her. It was for me. So I could move forward without carrying that weight. Kevin and Melinda never got back together. According to the last I heard, he was engaged to someone new in Spokane. Melinda was dating occasionally but nothing serious. We co-parented efficiently if not warmly. It was the calmest day before the storm, that Tuesday in March when I'd picked up her phone. Everything had seemed normal, safe, secure. And then it had all come crashing down. But here's what I learned. Buildings can be demolished and rebuilt. Lives can too. Not the same as before, the foundation is different, the structure changed. But rebuilt nonetheless. Emma asked me recently if I was happy. I'm getting there, I told her. And I was. Slowly. One day at a time. Some people say revenge is a dish best served cold. They're right. But they don't tell you that afterward you still have to figure out how to live with yourself. The revenge was easy. The moving on was hard. I designed a new life just like I design buildings. Carefully. Thoughtfully. With better materials this time. With stronger foundations. With walls that could withstand whatever storms might come. Melinda is part of my past now. An important part. We had kids together, built a life together even if she tore it down. But she's not part of my future. I'm building that myself. And this time I'm building it to last. YouTube may no longer suggest my channel to you, so subscribe to it to receive new interesting stories. You will also help the channel grow and improve the quality of its content. The screen now displays a playlist with other interesting stories that you can listen to. You can also write in the comments what stories you would like to see on the channel.